Hello everyone and welcome to today's lesson on the management of resources for development, focusing specifically on forest resources and their management. I am Roland Gwatiba. I'm excited to take you through this important topic that directly impacts our environment and economy. As we dive into the world of forest resources, we'll explore how this vital ecosystem contributes to our daily lives, from providing timber and fuel to regulating our climate and supporting biodiversity. Understanding how to sustainably manage these resources is crucial for ensuring they benefit both present and future generations. Through this lesson, we'll cover key concepts such as sustainable logging practices, the importance of forest conservation, and the role of government and communities in preserving this valuable ecosystem. We'll also discuss the challenges faced, including deforestation and the impact of climate change. By the end of this video, you will have a clear understanding of why effective management of forest resources is essential for sustainable development. Whether you are studying for exams or simply curious about our planet's natural wonders, this lesson will equip you with the knowledge to make informed decisions about our environment. So get ready to explore the fascinating world of forest resources and their management. Do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more insightful content, and let's embark on this journey together. Let's make a difference in how we manage our precious forests. Let's begin. Our lesson is going to begin with the expected outcomes, which actually is to state the meaning and the global stock and distribution of the world's forests. We are also going to identify the major producers of forest resources in the world, and to describe the method of exploitation of forest resources. Fourthly, we are going to briefly account on the factors that actually influence the exploitation of forest resources in the world. And fifthly, we are going to outline the significance or importance of forest resources. Of course, we're also going to describe the problems facing these resources and bring out some solutions to the problems. And we are going to outline ways of sustainable forest management, the various ways which can actually, protect the forest, and why not make the forest to become more useful into this generation and beyond. Let's begin by looking at the meaning and major producers of forest resources. When we talk about a forest, we are simply referring to an area which is made up of different types of trees growing together. So we find a particular area with various species of trees that grow together, most often in mixed stand. Forest exploitation, on the other hand, therefore, refers to the removal of forest resources such as wood for timber, fuel, rattans for weaving, and non-forest products like vegetables, wild vegetables for food, medicinal plants, and wildlife. The major producers of forest resources in the world will include, we have USA, we have USSR, we have China, Canada, Finland, Sweden, and Japan. These countries are mostly found in the temperate. While in Africa, we have Cameroon, we have Nigeria, we have also Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, and Ghana. In this lesson, we are going to take you into an outline map where we are going to actually identify these various areas which we have mentioned. Let us recall that in Africa, Cameroon, Nigeria, Equatorial Guinea, Gabon, and Ghana are countries that are actually located at Central and West Africa, most around the Congo Basin. So we are going to visit an outline map of the world to see where these resources are actually being spotted. Remember, we're talking about forest resources in this lesson. So, but before we go there, let's talk about the global distribution of forest resources in the world. In this lesson also, I have actually taken our time to bring this out in a tabular form to make it more insightful and understanding. We are going to be talking about the types of forests, where they are found, and of course, the common characteristics that make them distinct from others. The first type of forest we're going to be mentioning in our lesson is the tropical rainforests. These forests occur between latitude 0 to 5 degrees north and south of the equator. In some other literatures, we talk about 0 to 5 degrees north and 10 degrees south of the equator. Or better still, we can simply say 0 to 10 degrees north and south of the equator. In the areas where we can easily depict them, we have the Amazon basin, which is of course found in South Africa. I beg your pardon, in South America. We have the Congo Basin, which is actually found also in Central and West Africa, around the coast of West Africa. We have Malaysia and Indonesia. These are some countries that are found southeast of Asia. What makes them distinct is their characteristics. They commonly have broad leaves, or we call them broadleaf trees because the trees develop very large leaves with very large stomatas. Let us recall that the equatorial region actually is the region that receives the highest amount of rainfall. And since it receives the highest amount of rainfall, the ecosystem contains a lot of water. And there is a need for regulating the supply of water in the ecosystem. And therefore, the trees adapt by producing very broad leaves that will influence transpiration of water back to the atmosphere. Second characteristic also is the fact that the trees are evergreen throughout the year. What makes them green throughout the year? It is because they retain their leaves on them throughout the year. And the simple factor is because these trees are found in areas of excessive rainfall, and therefore they don't shed their leaves as deciduous trees will do. So they retain their leaves, or they keep their leaves with them to accelerate the transpiration of water back to the atmosphere. The third characteristic is also the fact that there's a wide variety in a given area. Recall when we're defining a forest, we said it is an area where we find trees growing in mixed stands, or there are different species of trees that grow together. And therefore, the equatorial rainforest actually occurs in mixed stands. It actually makes it difficult for a single species to be extracted without destroying another. However, it is also important because, an area that has a mixture of tree species automatically will benefit the local communities since they have many varieties to exploit. We are going to have some examples here. The examples we're going to talk about here, we have like the hardwood, like Iroko. We have the mahogany, we have the sapele, we have ebony. Those are some beautiful tree species that we can find in the lush vegetation of the tropical rainforest. The second type of forest is the tropical deciduous, or what we call the monsoon forest, which occurs between latitude 10 degrees to 13 degrees, or better still, you can talk about 10 degrees to 15 degrees north and south of the equator, depending on what literature you are working on. Now, this most often occurs around the coastal environment, and since they occur around the coast, they are often referred to as the monsoon forest. This, we are talking about areas like in Southeast Asia, including India, we have Pakistan, we have Bangladesh, Thailand, and part of northern Australia coast. So these areas actually are inhabited, or they actually inhabit the tropical deciduous forest. You may want to know what are the characteristics that differentiate the tropical deciduous forest from the tropical rainforest. Of course, the trees shed their leaves in the dry season. This is unlike the tropical rainforest where the trees retain their leaves. So we describe the tropical rainforest as evergreen, while we describe the tropical deciduous forest as actually we describe them as deciduous because they shed their leaves. Now, second characteristic is that they are actually far from one another. They are not close proximity as the case is with the tropical rainforest. We may have to see some examples here like teak. We have the sal, and of course the renowned Indian bamboos, which we all know. The third, I beg your pardon, is the temperate deciduous forest, which occurs between 45 degrees and 65 degrees north and south of the equator. It occurs in areas like northwest of Europe and New Zealand. Now, these forests are so peculiar because they occur in the temperate regions where temperature conditions are mild or moderate. The characteristics that makes them differ from others is the fact that they have broad leaves, and the trees also they are deciduous in nature, which means they shed their leaves also in autumn. Now, autumn, we all know autumn is a transition period between summer and winter. That is the rainy season and the dry season. So by autumn, the trees tend to shed their leaves, and these trees, I've earlier mentioned, they are deciduous in nature. We have examples here like the oak, we have the beech, and the marble. Now, the last type of forest we're going to be talking about in this lesson is coniferous wood. The coniferous woods are found in local areas still around latitude 45 degrees north of the equator. In this case, they are found just in the north of the equator, or the northern hemisphere in other words. So in the northern hemisphere, we will find it in northern Eurasia, particularly in Sweden and Finland, as well as in Alaska and Canada, found in North America. The trees here have needle-like leaves and are evergreen. They have thick barks to withstand cold. So you look at it, the trees are actually adapting to their physical environment. The first adaptation is the fact that the trees have needle-like leaves and are evergreen, and they have thick barks to withstand cold conditions. And examples here we will talk about will include things like the pine, we have spruce, and we have the beech. So guys, these are the various forest types of the world. We have seen the latitudinal location where they are actually found. We have also seen the area locations and the characteristics that makes them distinct from others. You may be posed a question to know what is the latitudinal location of the tropical rainforest. You need to know that it is found 0 to 5 degrees north and south of the equator. If you are asked to talk about the location of the tropical conifer or the temperate coniferous forest, the conifers, like I earlier mentioned, are found only in the northern hemisphere and 45 degrees north of the equator. The areas we have earlier mentioned here are northern Eurasia, particularly in Sweden and Finland, and Alaska, as well as Canada. Take note of their characteristics that differentiate them from others, most particularly the characteristics or the common characteristics of the tropical rainforest that differentiate it from the tropical deciduous forest. Remember also that when we say evergreen, it means the trees retain their leaves throughout the year. And the reasons why they retain their leaves throughout the year is because of excess amount of rainfall that needs to be transpirated back to the atmosphere. Of course, we have mentioned about deciduous, meaning trees that shed their leaves in the dry season, or better still, trees that shed their leaves also at a transition season to the dry season, like in autumn. So we have, for example, we have mentioned about the temperate deciduous forest and the tropical deciduous forest. What is common about both is the fact that they are deciduous and they tend to shed their leaves to reduce the rate of transpiration. But of course, they are found at different latitudes. That's what differentiates them. One is found in the tropics, while the other is actually found in the temperate. This actually shows the global stock or the global distribution of forest resources. We want to talk about where they are actually found in the world. I mean, on the world map, we will have to go into looking at an outline map of Cameroon and see how to locate these various forest resources. Take note very well when we get to the map. Take note of the areas where they are shaded, and on your own, you are going to write the names of these places, given that the names are actually found on a table here. So we are going to move straight forward into looking at the outline map of the world. So when we look at the outline map of the world here, we can easily see that this area is actually found. Look at it very well. This is the tropical rainforest and is the largest in South America. So this is the Amazon basin, which we have in South America. This other way, we have the Congo basin. The Congo basin actually is found in West Africa and Central Africa. So if you see, part of it is found in West Africa and more in Central Africa. Now, the next type is the tropical deciduous forest, which we earlier mentioned is found transition zone between, the tropics, the tropical rainforest and the tropical desert. So you tend to find trees which are actually spaced out, like we have here, like in southeast of Asia. We earlier mentioned of India, Pakistan, all those areas which we earlier mentioned. Those are the areas that are found southeast of Asia. Now, we have the temperate deciduous wood found in northwest of Europe, most particularly around Britain there. So we have northwest of Europe. we have also in New Zealand, and which is actually in North America. Now, the last one is the coniferous wood. Coniferous wood, we earlier mentioned, they are found not only around 45 degrees north of the equator. I want to talk about northern Eurasia, particularly in Sweden and Finland, and also Alaska and Canada in North America. So this is simply an outline map of the world. Let us talk about method of forest exploitation. How will you want to go on to carry on with forest exploitation? Are you an entrepreneur who wants to start up forest exploitation? Then you need to know about this method of how to go on with your exploitation. The first activity you need to do is to survey the forest area, and of course identify the different types of species of trees that we have in that area. So when that is done, you mark out the trees to be fell, most particularly the mature trees or the disease affected trees, and we go ahead by creating roads or tracks to have access into the forest area and establish camps with facilities for the workers. The second activity has to do with the felling down of trees using portable engine saws and cutting them into logs of portable sizes, and this will actually facilitate the transportation of this wood. And the third activity is then the extraction of the logs of wood using tractors to accessible areas where trailers can easily carry them to the sawmills or the exporting port. I want to talk about also now at the sawmills, the logs of the wood are being transformed to that which can be used for furniture or for construction. So they are being transformed into various sizes which can easily be used for furniture or for construction. Most particularly, like it can be transformed into plywood, which is used as a ceiling board, or in other boards which can be used as planks, for furniture making. The last but not the least also is the trees that are being exploited must be replanted for future exploitation. Now, what are the factors that influence forest exploitation in the world? The first and obvious factor is the fact that there's an extensive forest reserve with soft and hardwood in the temperate and the tropics respectively. So the softwoods are found in the temperate and the hardwood are most often found in the tropics. Secondly, the climatic conditions actually favor the growth of different trees and vegetative resources that are exploited in different ways. So because you look at it, the climate of the tropics actually favors the growth of the tropical rainforests, which are gigantic, and hardwood used for furniture making. There is also a high demand for timber and non-timber resources, which have actually encouraged the exploitation of the forest. Of course, this is leading to an overexploitation already and leading to the depletion or extinction of species. However, this actually has also influenced forest exploitation. The fourth characteristic is the fact that, or the fourth factor, I beg your pardon, is the fact that there is a large pool of skilled and unskilled labor, which is also very cheap and available for forest exploitation. And lastly, but not the least, is the fact that there is a use of modern technology in forest exploitation today, like the use of engine saws, tractors, and trailers to facilitate the process of forest exploitation. All these factors act in combination with others to make forest exploitation insightful. Now, we are going to also talk about the importance of forest as a resource. Recall that anything called a resource is that which is very important to man. We may mention the forest itself, the soil, we have water, we have air, and many other natural resources. And these are resources that have been provided to us by nature. So the forest is a resource because it provides wood or timber which are extracted and being used for the paper and pulp manufacture. Therefore, forest in itself is an industrial raw material for the paper and pulp industry. Secondly, wood is also used for the construction of houses, bridges, and household furniture. The next importance is the fact that it is a source of fuel for domestic cooking, particularly in less developed countries where the use of other sources of fuel is limited due to limited capital to obtain them. There is also, some plants are medicinal and their barks or the leaves are actually exploited traditionally and are being used to produce modern medicines. We want to cite the example of maybe we have nivaquine, which is produced out of the barks of trees, and we have traditional medicines which are actually made out of barks of trees and healed a lot of diseases. There's a lot of vegetables and spices which are obtained from the forest. For example, we have wild vegetables like arrow. We have fruits like bush mangoes. We have the I'm going to talk about nuts like the monkey cola. We have bitter cola. We have jansa. We have even white pepper. All this comes out from the forest and are most often used for African delicacies. The trees actually also prevent soil erosion. We know very well that environmentally trees actually act with their roots to hold the soil firm and reduce the rate of soil erosion either by water or by wind. And lastly, it is a major touristic attraction, most particularly in areas like the Congo and the Amazon basin, which attracts a lot of tourists to visit the forest for safaris and other, maybe carry out ecotourism in these areas. These are some importance to add with others, which you actually mentioned, which makes the forest actually very important or an important resource. We are also going to, not only look at forest importance, but look also at the problems which actually affect forest resources. And talking about the problems which affects forest resources, we'll look at the solutions to these problems. The first problem is the fact that most forest region or forested regions are inaccessible, most particularly during particular seasons like the rainy season. In Cameroon, we have regions like forested regions like the East region and the South region, which are areas where we have large vegetation, but these areas are most often inaccessible, most particularly in the rainy season, where the roads are actually muddy, and in some cases the roads are completely absent, like in the Congo Basin. The second factor, or the second problem, I beg your pardon, is also the fact that there is a high demand for forest resources, as we earlier mentioned, and this has led to indiscriminate felling of trees due to the high demand and competition among exploiting companies to satisfy demands. The third problem we're going to be talking about in a lesson is also the fact that most natural forest areas or forested areas of the world have a mixed stand. As we earlier mentioned in the definition of forest, we said forests occur most often in a mixed stand or in variety. And since they occur in variety, it makes it difficult for a single species of trees to be exploited without destroying another species. So this is actually a problem affecting forest resources. We are going to wrap up this by looking at some rapid solutions which have been implemented and can be implemented to resolve the problems mentioned above. So the first solution we're going to talk about is the fact that it's an implemented solution. Is the fact that lumbering in the temperate region actually is most often carried out in winter when there is snow, and the logs are being allowed on the surface for the spring thaw or the melting of the snow in spring to transport them to the sawmills. So when the snow actually is melting, it permits that these resources are being transported through the melting snow. Of course, we also have very good roads and railways that are being constructed to link forested regions with the market. We have the case of Cameroon here, where the government is doing extra effort to ensure that the roads cut into these very large vegetations in the east and the south regions that will link them to the market in Douala or Yaoundé. The government of most countries actually have also reinforced forest laws like replanting policies and the felling of only mature trees. Why not disease affected ones? So we have many governments that have actually influenced their laws in forest exploitation. The last solution also is the practice of reforestation, where only a single species of tree are replanted to make exploitation easier. This is to solve the problem of the mixed stand, where we have trees of different species growing in a specific area, making it difficult for a single species to be exploited. So there is now what we call reforestation, which has to do with the replanting of trees in areas where trees have been destroyed. But this time, a single species is being planted to make the exploitation of the trees easier. Of course, we are going to see some conservative methods also, which can actually make forest exploitation more sustainable for future generations, and why not the present generation. The first method of forest conservation we want to talk about here is afforestation, of course. Afforestation is simply the planting of trees in areas where trees have never existed. In Cameroon, we have a vivid example, what we call the Operation Green Sahel, where trees are being planted in the Sahelian region, like the far north and the north region of Cameroon, and why not Adamawa region, which are actually affected by the Sahel climatic conditions. And these areas, I want to say, they are grassland regions which the government and other non-governmental organizations have taken upon themselves the actions to plant trees in these areas. We have also the policy of reforestation, as earlier mentioned, which has to do with the replanting of trees where trees have been destroyed, and most often it has to do with the replanting of a single species of trees to make the exploitation easier to be done. Also, the selective cutting, whereby only mature trees are being felled or disease affected ones are being felled down. The fourth conservative method also is forest protection from natural fire, which also is another problem which affects African or the tropical rainforest. There is a lot of forest fire that attack this area, and therefore there is a need to actually protect the natural fire. The Cameroon government has actually devised methods of doing so by using the fire brigades to constantly monitor the forest and prevent any future natural fire or bushfire. There is also the need to reduce waste by reusing or recycling most of our forest resources. For example, when a chair gets bad, it is not good to actually discard this resource or the chair. We may actually use it for another purpose than discarding them, or why not recycle it to something else. So these are some conservative measures that, if being implanted or being practiced, it is going to make forest exploitation more sustainable for the present generation, and why not the future generation. Let us actually wrap up our lesson by looking at some questions of review, given that we have gone through much. The first question we're going to be talking about here: which continent has the largest total surface area, the largest total forest area? So which country has the largest total forest area? The second one: which region is known to have the most diverse range of tree species? So guys, remember that you can be giving me your answers already in the comment section. Give us your answers in the comment section, and we are going to correct that there. So which region is known to have the most diverse range of tree species? The third is: which type of forest is known to have, or is known for its high biodiversity and dense vegetation with a warm and wet climate? Recall that I'm waiting for your answers in the comment section. So we have here, maybe I should read the answers. For the first question was: which continent has the largest total surface area? We have Asia, Africa, South America, and North America. The second question: which region is known to have the most diverse range of tree species. We have Southeast Asia, B, Amazon rainforest, C, Central Africa, and D, North America. And 3, which type of forest is known for its high biodiversity and dense vegetation with a warm and wet climate? So A, we have the boreal forest. B is a tropical rainforest, it's not mentioned there. C is the temperate forest, and D, the deciduous forest. And 4, the natural reasons that coniferous forest is easier. The natural reasons that coniferous forest is easier to exploit is A, the equipment used is very effective, the topography is flat, the trees are in pure stand, and the trees are not very tall. And 5, an adaptation of plants in the temperate evergreen forest is that trees A, grow very tall, B, have deep roots, C, have needle-shaped leaves, and D, are of many species. So guys, you're expected to give me your answers in the comment section, and we're going to compare that together with what we have in this lesson. And so guys, throughout this lesson, we've learned about the importance of sustainable practices in forestry, ensuring that timber harvesting and other uses do not exceed the forest's ability to regenerate. This balance is crucial for maintaining biodiversity, regulating climate, and providing livelihood for local communities. Remember, each of us play a role in protecting these ecosystems. Whether you are advocating for conservation policies, supporting eco-friendly products, or simply learning about our natural world, our actions matters. As students, you have the power to shape the future of our forest and our planet. By understanding the complexity of forest management and embracing sustainable practices, you are contributing to a more resilient and equitable world. Let's continue to educate ourselves, collaborate with others, and take actions. Together, we can ensure the future generations inherit a world where forests thrive and provide for all. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the management of forest resources development. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video to spread awareness. Let's keep learning and working toward a sustainable future. Until next time, remain safe and healthy. Bye-bye.